Hey everyone, today I wanted to talk about a topic that I haven't actually covered in a long time. If you've been on the newsletter for a while, you've probably heard me talk about this, but if you're new to it in the past 6 months to maybe even a year, you probably haven't heard me cover this much. And last week I was actually teaching a doubles workshop to a group of 3O ladies who are getting ready for sectionals, and this kind of came up for me again. So I wanted to talk about covering the alley and getting beat down the line. So what we were doing is a doubles workshop where I kind of chat with the ladies, and then they go out and play some 10-point tiebreakers. And one thing I noticed is that, especially in the first 10-point tiebreaker, before I mentioned this to them, is they would get into these cross-court rallies, and I would watch the net players, and every time the person at the baseline was about to hit, the net player would retreat towards the alley. So they would open up the cross-court shot even more so to cover the alley. And I had them make a little tweak here that helped them a lot that I'll get to in a second. But one thing that I was curious about, and that I've covered a long time ago, but have thought more about it recently, is why do we do this? Why do we cover the alley? And there's a few reasons for it. Obviously, if we get beat down the alley, there's no support back there, right? Our partner's not going to be able to get it, so it's going to be a winner. We lose the point. That's it. The other reason is it's just kind of a fear thing. I think we're scared for to get beat down the alley because it's the point is clearly, or you would think it would be clearly, our fault. In reality, it might be your partner's fault for hitting a weaker shot, but that's a little bit more kind of advanced level tennis, probably 4-0, 4-5 and up. So I think a lot of it's fear, a lot of it's our partner's not there, so we look at doubles as I cover my side, you cover your side, when really we probably shouldn't be doing that. And just that feeling that, when we do get beat down the alley, it really feels like we've just lost 2, 3, 4, 5 points. It's the other team will give a big, come on, let's go. And, it'll feel kind of deflating. It'll feel like a big point, like they say on TV, even though it's only 1 point. So instead of covering the alley in a lot of these scenarios, what we should be doing is, and this is what I had these 3 ladies do, is as they're about to hit, actually move towards the center net strap, move towards the middle of the court. And there's a few reasons for that. One, obviously, we'll be able to get the ball in the middle. We'll be able to poach and kind of narrow that window that the opponent's able to hit into cross court. Another reason is just to have them see us, just to make them hit the ball through us. So maybe they see you do that and they change direction and they miss. You're making them hit a more difficult shot. So if they do go cross court, they have a smaller window. If they go down the line, they have a shorter court, they have a higher net, and they're redirecting the ball, which is really difficult, especially if your partner's hitting a really strong cross court shot. So we should be moving towards that center net strap as the opponent's about to hit. And then the question is how aggressively do we move towards that center net strap? And I like to use this kind of 40%, 60% rule, where what I'll do is I'll cover enough of the down the line shot to where I think the opponent will only make about 40% of them. So if they want to win 4 out of every 10 points, I'm totally fine with that. I'll take my 6 out of 10, and the match will be over in an hour or two. So I want to give them enough of the alley to where they think about hitting it, to where if they do hit it, they'll make it 40% of the time, but cover about that 60%. So you have to be reading things. You have to read how deep are they in the court. Are they on their heels? Are they hitting a forehand or backhand? Which one of those is weaker? Things like that, to kind of make this judgment call. If your partner is hitting a really wide shot, for example, that opens up the alley for the opponent, so you do have to cover a little bit more of it. But if your partner can kind of work the middle of the court, then you can be more aggressive there, and it's a lot more difficult shot for them to hit, say, a backhand from the deuce side down the alley than it is a wide forehand from the deuce side down the alley. So a lot of factors there. Keep all of that in mind. But then the other question is, how do we get over this fear? How do we get over this this thing that everybody has where they're scared to get beat down the alley? And there's a little trick that I like to use when I'm on the court. And what I'll do is I'll just keep a mental tally of all the times they try to go down the alley. I've written about this for the women's tennis blog, and I think it's going to be published in the next few weeks. So I'll get that out to you. But one of the things that people don't realize is, you know, let's say I've gotten beat up the alley 5 times in a set. You might think, you know, you need to be covering the alley more. But people don't count all the times that the opponent hits up the alley and misses. You know, so maybe I got beat 5 times in the set, but maybe they missed 8. So if you ask me, I'm not getting beat up the alley enough, because if I can get that number up to 10, then I'll get, you know, my points won up to 16, and so on. So you want to make sure you're counting and taking credit in your own mind for their misses when they try to go up the alley. And not only that, you know, if you're moving towards the middle and you're putting more balls away, take credit for those too, right? So keep in mind that, you know, a miss by the opponent is an error that you forced by giving up a little bit of that alley and being aggressive at the net and putting pressure on them. So obviously a lot of factors here, but it was a topic that, again, I haven't covered in a long time. So if you have any questions on it, or any other tips that you'd like to get out there, definitely comment below, and like the video if you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you next week.